Peace, everybody. This is Raheem, and I hope all of you out there are having a fantastic day so far. What I'm going to talk about in this particular segment is knowledge of self. And the reason I'm going to talk to you about that is because in many of the conversations that I have with people, I see this common theme. And the theme deals with either people know what they want or they don't know what they want. And that's the drum that I beat every single day when I deal with people, because it is the single most important thing that every single person should know or be trying to figure out. And the reason why I say that is because in life, you only get a certain amount of time. And with that allotted amount of time, it is extremely important that you are living your life the way you want to live it. There are no victims. There are only people who are playing the role of a victim. If you are in a situation where your life is not going the way you want it to go, it may not be your fault that you are in that situation, but it is certainly your responsibility to get yourself out of that situation by any means necessary. Okay, so let's start. Knowledge of self, what's that all about? Knowledge of self is all about what you know about you. Now, I want to be very clear, because knowledge of self, for those who truly understand it, also understand that knowledge of self is infinite. We are all infinite beings from an infinite universe. We come from a place where there is no beginning and there is no end. There simply is. Okay? So because that is true, knowledge of self is something that you are continually pursuing. Nobody will ever completely know themselves completely all at once. What you will know is what your attention is on at the moment. But the good thing is that knowing what your attention is at the moment gives you so much that you can't even imagine. Is so vast, right? Here's the power of knowledge of self. If you know your strengths and you know your weaknesses, and you are focused on a specific goal or something that you want to achieve, then you can systemically eliminate the things that you are not good at, your weaknesses, by allowing others to take care of the things that you're not good at. So in other words, you find people who enjoy doing the things that you don't enjoy doing. That leverages who you are and gives you more time so you can focus on building your strengths. Or maybe there's something that you're weak at, but it could be a strength over time with practice, meaning you're low on the skill level of something that you actually would be good at, but it takes you some time to build up to a certain point. Okay. Every person who is, a professional who is the best at something had to start somewhere. And their starting point, trust me, does not look anything like who they are when they've reached their pinnacle. So here's the question that I want to ask you that's going to help you understand this point of knowledge of self. The question that I want to ask you is, what do you want? And that question of what do you want, please understand, I am not asking you what do other people want for you. I'm asking you, what do you want? Not what your parents want for you, or not what your parents said you should do, not what your friends, family members, teachers, whoever said you should do, not what you probably think you want. I'm talking about, what do you actually want? How is your time best spent on this planet in this moment right now? You may know what you want. And if you know what you want, congratulations. Are you working towards what you want? And if not, why? What are you waiting for? Some of us have this idea when we actually know what we want, that the season is not appropriate. for taking action. And let me tell you something. The season is always appropriate for taking action. There's always something that you can do. Always. You just need to get busy doing something. Now, as you're doing something, you want to take action intelligently. You want to be thinking through the actions that you're taking to see if your actions are getting you closer to your result, the thing that you want, or if it's leading you astray. So if you know what you want and you're not taking action, why aren't you taking action? What are you waiting on? If you're telling yourself that, you know what, tomorrow is better, or you're telling yourself that, you know what, I'm going to start next month, or I'm waiting for someone to get back to me, you're wasting time. And you may tell yourself whatever the reasons are for wasting time. You may give yourself a good excuse, but the truth is that you're just wasting time. All of the things that you think that need to happen in order for something else, in order for you to have the opportunity to begin, is just a waste of time. You're wasting time. Learn to own that. Once you own the fact that you are wasting time, you can then begin to take full advantage of that moment. You don't wait. Stop waiting. Even if in your waiting, all you can do is prepare for the moment, then prepare for the moment. But that needs to be actionable steps that you can say, you know what, I know that this is bringing me closer. That may mean preparation. That may mean doing research and development. That may mean making a phone call. That may mean working on a skill. That may mean practicing a skill. That may mean getting out and meeting a certain person. It could mean anything, but by all means, you should be taking action. The reason you want to be taking action towards the thing that you want is because the thing that you want is not going to move unless you take action. It cannot just be a thought in your head. I appreciate visualization because having a clear vision of what you want is critical, but we are not just, beings in isolation of thought or isolated thoughts. We are beings that are all encompassing. We have the thought, we have the ability to act, we have emotions, we have drive, we have grit, we have all of these things that push us and allow us to do things and live in many different realms. We don't just live in our heads, we live outside of our heads. So whatever it is that you really want out of life, you have to take action at doing, learning by doing. In other words, not just the intellectual property that you have, but the practical knowledge that you have, the knowledge that you have from doing certain things. So there you have it. If you are in a position where you're fortunate and you know what you want, stop waiting, stop making excuses for starting and get busy doing. Okay. Now, let's just say you're in the other category, the category of you don't know what you want. So here it is. If you're in a situation where you don't know what you want, then I'm challenging you. My challenge for you is to get to know yourself. Get to know yourself better, because when you get to know yourself and you know exactly who you are, figuring out what you want becomes a creative process. Okay. You don't have to do what everybody else is doing. You should be doing what you want to do, what resonates with who you are. It's a personal journey. It is not a journey that you look at someone else and you say, I want to be just like that person. If you're doing that, at some point, you're going to fall short. And the reason you're going to fall short is because you can't be that person that you're looking at. You can't be them. You can only be you. Your thing is not going to look like their thing. It may look similar. Some of us have paths that seemingly run parallel with other people's paths. Like you are walking in another person's footsteps. But at some point in time, if you are paying attention, it's going to be time for you to step out and make a new path. We are all just designed that way. There are no two people the same, which means there are no paths that should exactly be the same. You have a path that makes you different and makes you unique. That's your brand. That's your natural brand. So my challenge for you is, if you don't know what you want, how well do you know yourself? That's number one. Then number two, with not knowing what you want, is what are you doing? What are you doing with your time? Because remember, there's intellectual knowing, where you are in your head and you're figuring things out. And I greatly appreciate the intellectuals out there, because I am one of them. I love to live in my head. But then there's also the practical learning by doing, discovering by doing. You will not figure out what you want until you start doing some things, which means getting out and trying some things, traveling, experiencing some things, doing the work, trying things that you think you may be interested in, meeting people that you think you may be interested in, associating with different activities in life, be it you may say, well, you know what, I think I want to do something in engineering. Well, what steps have you taken? Have you talked to anybody who is an engineer? Have you done any engineering for yourself at home? Sometimes when we think about becoming or doing a certain thing, we think of you need to go and get a job or work in that field or intern or something like that. The beautiful thing is that we live in an information age where you can load up your phone, go to YouTube, do research, and you can start actually practicing what you think you're interested in to see how you feel about it. See if it's getting you going, if it's giving you energy. Things that give you energy is like the universe's way of letting you know this is what you should be doing. You can feel it. It kind of keeps you going. You know, hours go by and you barely notice how much time you spent doing it. So those are the two things that you need to do in order to figure out what you want. Number one is you need to take time out to really get to know yourself. Ask yourself, what are the things that I know about myself? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? When do I feel good? When do I feel bad? How do I feel about the world? Understand your own personal philosophy. Okay. Understand who you are as a person. Understand where you live. Why do you live there? What is it about the area that you live in right now that has caused you to want to stay there? What are you doing? Okay. And B, what have you been doing with your time? What are you trying? What are you practicing? What are you discovering? What are you exploring? What are you researching? What have you been doing? What have you trying to create? All of those actionable steps give you practical knowledge of self, gives you information about who you are and what you are prone to do. Remember, the things that you're probably interested in doing give you energy. The things that have nothing to do with you, those things can be draining. They take away energy. It's almost like your body's natural way, or nature's or the universe's natural way of saying this is not what you should be doing. Don't spend your time doing that. I'm not going to give you any energy towards something that is not for you. That's someone else's thing. You should be doing what makes you happy, what fulfills you, what brings you joy, what makes you feel alive and vibrant. Those are the things that you should be doing with your life. Okay. This is Coach Raheem with another series of messages about knowledge of self. Know who you are. Know what you want to do with your time here. We all have a certain amount of time here on this plane. Do not waste your time in excuses. Do not waste your time in excuses. Learn how to hold yourself accountable for using your time. Remember, whatever situation you're in, it may not be your fault that you are in that situation, but it is certainly your responsibility to get yourself out of that situation. This is Coach Raheem. Hit me up. If you know somebody that needs a great coach, send them my way. I'm all about helping people. Have a great day, everybody. Peace.